conversations, and to also hear out the differences in people who disagree. Maybe the members of Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow thought that they were doing the very best thing they could, that it was the best moment, that, like Rahm Emanuel says, there is no time to waste in a crisis, to use every crisis to their advantage, that it was important for them to try and usurp this event.
Everything all right over there? We'll be getting started here soon. Seeing about calling into soundbites.
By your side through all of the lies, watching you cry for me. Get on your knees, apologize please. Now why don't you die for me? I'm in the king, ruler of things, with a diamond ring. Get on your knees, apologize please. Now why don't you die for me? I can go, but it's your medication. Late at night, I can deal with it. That's what
and not all of them. Committing violence. That's not a protest. The moment that violence is threatened, and especially when it is done, when criminal action has taken place, it's no longer a protest. That's a mob, and that's a crime, and it should be punished. And I don't care what is the cause that created that group of people. Once you've crossed that line, you've crossed the line. And it's a shame, because that was a line, and those are lines that never had to be crossed, because in discussing the Me Too movement, in discussing and protecting women, that never had to happen. Never. It was unnecessary. But yet it happened anyway.
You can go back to the hospital.
And that's troubling to me. But that's some of the thoughts that I had about this event. And let me ask you, did you see the live stream? Did you see the live stream of this event? Invaded a business, threatened violence, and then ultimately did commit violence, commit crimes? Do you think the media conveyed the fact, or even acknowledged the fact, that the people leading this event were members of Plot, a group that has been known to be violent in our community and to promote violence in their issues and to misrepresent facts to the public? I think that's important to know. Because I believe women in our community deserve better than that. They deserved better treatment than that. They deserved the event to be handled better than that. That they were being used because of it. Mike mentions, I don't believe the crime warranted shutting down Court Street or invading a business. They were infringing on the rights of innocent people. Well, that's something that progressive leaders of tomorrow do on a regular basis. They believe in that completely. Now, if we look at all of the events, and I've covered
All right, so no sound bites allowed right now is live streaming, and we're not going to try to get into his politics on this channel, but I would like to call in because he was covering the protest last night, and I kind of want to get his view from it. If you don't know, in the area of New York, in Binghamton, New York, there's been a bunch of allegations of SA occurring in the local bar establishments, and we are trying to cover it, and it's been very little media coverage, very little sound bites here and there, but for the most part it hasn't really been covered. it seems like there's a pretty big push to actually keep it out of the media. It's even been alleged that victims that have been interviewed have been told not to speak with national media, that it could jeopardize their investigation, which to me is just crazy. But that's what we're hearing. And actually, the victims themselves, from what I can tell, agree with that. They don't want national coverage, and that they think it will hinder the investigation in some way. But of course, here at Bing's Media, we totally disagree. We think that having national coverage would put a spotlight on it, and it would allow more accountability, hopefully, and that there would be pressure for law enforcement to fully investigate, and that put a spotlight on the case, create more public opinion, and we think it would be overall just better to have the coverage. It feels like they're just going to sweep it under the carpet. Is what it feels like. It feels like it's one of those things where they just want to hope it all goes away, that maybe charges will be pressed, but if they can just keep things quiet enough, because I think they think it's going to affect business, which it probably will if there's national coverage. So we're going to be calling into his stream here shortly. I'm going to see if I can message him and see if he's all right with me calling in, and momentarily, hopefully we'll have him on the line.
To share it with all of us who are watching this, both live and afterwards, to say why you think this is incorrect. Don't just waste time and say, "Oh, Mike, you're evil, you're racist, you're an istophobe." I don't care about that stuff. That's meaningless. Don't personally attack me. Convince me. Explain to me why I have misunderstood. I'm an intelligent man. Give me your argument and explain with your sources why you believe that is correct. Don't tell me that it's your feeling. I don't care. Don't tell me that you think I'm an evil, racist, sexist, whatever. I don't care. That's not important to me. Tell me what your reasoning is. Tell me how I have misunderstood the information that is provided and is available. Convince me. Don't try and manipulate my emotions. Don't try to make me fear being ostracized. Nor should anyone else who watches this program or who hears this information. Don't fear being ostracized. Don't fear being called an outcast, because you're probably not. The overwhelming majority of Democrats don't agree with the far left. The overwhelming majority of Americans don't agree with the far left. It's one of the arguments I had with the academics at SUNY Broome, who wanted to tell me, well, everyone they know agrees with it, that everyone they speak to in the academic circles think it's perfectly fine to misrepresent the entire black middle class since 1860. Hello, and thank you for calling Soundbites Aloud. This is your host, Michael Vass. May I ask who's speaking?
Hey, Mike, this is Mark. I was just
Hi,
calling. I
Mark.
appreciate that you went out there last night and covered the protest. There wasn't very much media coverage, and I was just wondering what you think the reason is for that.
There's a couple of reasons why there wasn't a lot of media. One, a lot of people weren't aware. I myself wasn't aware of the event until 2 hours beforehand when someone, an audience member, contacted me and said, hey, did you know this was happening? Here's a copy of a flyer, here's the page that is happening on Facebook, going out, which is why I didn't have time to tell people that I was going to be at the event and I was covered. And so less people were able to see it live, sadly. So part of it is we only knew from December 9th that this was going to exist on December 11th. In addition to that, a lot of the news media don't want to record and report what's happening, which is why they don't stay. So several members of the press did show up and left as soon as possible because they don't want people to see, hey, this thing has been turned violent, that the people are being used to promote a very specific political agenda, that they're committing crimes. They don't want you to know that because they want you to stick with the message, oh, see, this was such a great Me Too movement, except it really wasn't. It was smeared by the existence and interference from progressive leaders of tomorrow. And the less they show of that, the less likely you are to notice it, in my opinion. So that's kind of why I think that, and why they misrepresented. There's a crowd of 400. It's reported as 100. They're reporting they say they went to a business instead of they invaded the actual business, as I recorded the show. So there's those differences.
Yeah, it
That
feels
make
like
sense?
it's being minimalized for the coverage that they did have. It feels like, like I saw the news broadcast and it said 100 people were out there, and then I watched your stream, and right when it started, there was almost 100 people out there, let alone there's probably 300 or 400 out there. And so you feel that they're minimalizing it because of the that the crowd could have turned violent. That's why that they didn't want to show that the event was being hijacked by a progressive movement.
Yes, I think that's part of it. Yes.
See, I was wondering if it's just because of the area and them kind of wanting to let this thing go away because it's bad for business, quote unquote.
I'm sure I'm sure there is that element too. I mean, it is downtown Binghamton. It does kill tourism. It does kill people supporting businesses, not just these businesses, but many businesses in Binghamton itself. So it is detrimental on that side. I don't think that's the main cause, though, because they've covered other events and they've covered them more fully, except when it's with progressive leaders tomorrow. When they see that leadership, they see that direction, because that tends to be very negative and something that's not supported by the community or the public. So, so there's many things that are happening all at the same time. And I don't think it's just one thing. It's the combination of all of them put together that results in the kind of coverage we get that is less than positive. It's not misinforming the public. It's kind of disinforming the public. It's a lack of. It's kind of like what I said, what SUNY Broom did. You're not being given any information that would lead you to a different conclusion than the one they want you to have. They're cutting out everything that might objectively object to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Do you know that, like, from what I've heard, there's been reports, at least social media reports, of even victims that have been interviewed being told by law enforcement to not speak, not to reach out to mainstream media as far as national coverage goes. Have you heard reports like that, or have you seen examples where they just don't want this to be a national media coverage? Because I would think that would be a good thing to have that. And do you think it warrants national media coverage, or do you think it should stay local?
Not one person in the news media that I am aware of, that I have contact, and I do have contacts in the major news media in this region. I know many of them. I've worked with some of them at various events. I've been interviewed by several of them. So I know many of the news media organizations, traditional news media organizations in the area. Not one that I am aware of has ever hinted that they are trying to hold back this story, that they are not trying to report it to some degree, or that they are not presenting it to the higher ups for it to be a national issue. This doesn't qualify, quite honestly, as a national issue because there's no confirmation. Two, there's no violence. Three, it's being supported by a radical group that most people in the country do not support. When Plot took over this event, they literally cut down on the newsworthiness of it because it's then it's being promoted by a political organization, an ideology that have nothing to do with the root purpose of people being out there at the event. So it's inherent in how they're being presented is how it's getting cut down. So those are the reasons why it's not national news, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Because the allegations as far as on social media, now, like you said, we don't have all the facts, but the allegations on social media that it's not just one woman, it's, multiple women have had this happen to them, and that it's not just like an isolated incident either, that it's somewhat coordinated and been in effect for quite a while. And so I think that's that's the difference where, not being, it's multiple businesses, that are part of a group that are involved or somewhat responsible and liable. And so I think that kind of warrants bigger coverage of it. But my other question for you is I know you probably have ties with the university there, and I know Binghamton's a big university town, and a lot of their income comes from that university. Do you know if the universities put out any public safety meetings over this, or any maybe information to their students to warn them of these allegations and to just kind of reinforce, using the buddy system when going out and being safe and protecting each other and all that?
To my knowledge, at this point, no. Neither Binghamton University nor SUNY Broome, the two colleges in Southern Tier, and they're both larger institutions, but SUNY Broome, which is a state college, and actually both of them, and Binghamton University. At this moment, I am not aware of either of them instituting anything of that nature. Will they? Since this event happened, I would think they're going to be leaning towards that, and we may see that next week. As the public is becoming more aware of more details, and as the rumor mill on social media expands this and starts including tales and stories that are, I don't want to say they're not credible, I don't want to say that, but they are also less to do with this issue and on totally other subjects, bringing in race issues with the police has nothing to do with this, and yet that was being brought in. The wanting to defund the police has nothing to do with this, yet that was brought in. Other issues and other subjects were being brought into this. So as that expands, if it expands, I would think that yes, they will. It is always advisable for women to let their friends know what's going on, to be careful with your drinks in any environment, in any location, because there are disreputable people that exist. It's not because all men are rapists, not because all men are savage brutes, but there are bad people in the world, and those bad people do bad things, and they take advantage of situations where they know that, as an example, college students drink, and they usually drink to excess. It makes them a target. Same thing as if you're walking around and you're in a big city and you're gawking at every single skyscraper, looking up everywhere you're going instead of watching where you're going. And in the big city, that identifies you as a target for muggers. And that's how people get pickpocketed, mugged. If you're identifying, you're giving that opportunity to those bad people. That makes sense. So I hope that, yes, we can take this as, and I think that would have been a better message at the event yesterday, to say, women, be prepared, take precaution, have mace, learn about self-defense. I personally believe women should be armed. They should be trained. We should have more firearms, that women should be able to have access to handguns and be properly trained on their use to better enable them to defend themselves in situations where that could be appropriate. So I think that's important, and not the other way around, saying, oh, we have to ban all guns. No, I think train women to be able to use guns, to equalize that situation too. And also, in terms of open carry, to let other people know, if you're trying to be a bad person, especially to a woman, because she happens to be 5 foot tall and weighs 95 pounds, she has something to equalize the situation. You're not going to get away with trying to abuse her. And thus, it deters that. So that's what I think should happen with this.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that we live in a culture that requires that. I mean, but I agree with you. I think in our current culture that the equalizer and, arming yourself and being responsible for yourself and being able to protect yourself is necessary in our culture. It is unfortunate, though, that we have to do that.
Well, to an extent, I suppose these things have always existed in mankind, but realistically, lately, they've taken a different type of turn. And I think it's because we're enabling through our education system, through things like critical race theory, identity, gender politics, and intersectionality. We're emphasizing some of the most negative aspects of our society. And in fact, we're encouraging some of these most negative aspects, which is why we see them more and more. And that's kind of upsetting. And I do recommend to people, it's perfectly fine to be outraged. It's another thing to act on that outrage without confirmation. It would be wrong in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. So any of the riots over 2020, it's wrong in this case too. And I hope people don't act without confirmation, because that never works out for anyone. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Another question I had for you was like, I understand that you're, obviously not for defund the police or anything like that, but do you feel that there is a level of corruption or a level of collusion possibly with this story, or do you think that's completely unfounded and that there isn't a certain level of collusion or cooperation or corruption involving these businesses, because generally these businesses are, especially in a smaller city or town, they're generally tied. You have business dealings where it's kind of the heads, well, they bring business here, so they turn their head the other way. Do you feel like that's something that's prevalent in the Binghamton area, or do you feel like that's completely obscene or not even close?
Well, no, that's an excellent question. And in part because it is a small community. I mean, Binghamton's 40,000 people and another 10,000 for students. So it's a very small community. I know a lot of people think of that as a city. It's a small community, at least to me. So you have many business owners own multiple businesses, own multiple properties. They speak with each other. They speak with the local government on a regular basis. You have much closer ties. That doesn't mean everybody's involved, nor does it mean that everyone's trying to stop it. Is there going to be some aspect of that? I'm sure. I'm sure to some degree that the news media could have looked into this a little bit harder, that elected officials could have been at the event last night. They could have been marching to say that they agree that women should never be assaulted. They did. But that's the problem with small towns. That's always that. Now, do I think that intentional to prevent that? Because there's a difference of incidental, that, of course, small town, small businesses, very few business owners, they all know each other, they know government because they interact with them. And purposefully trying to protect someone and to deny this from being investigated, that's a different thing. I don't think, at least with the evidence we have so far, that that's correct. But that's why we need the investigation. And if it is found through the investigation that there was a cover-up by anyone to any degree, no matter what level of government or business that they are, then I absolutely demand that those individuals be punished to the fullest extent of the law. But I'm not going to jump to that conclusion. I don't have any evidence, nor have I heard of any evidence from anybody that confirms that. I know there are allegations being made by the far left to that end, but there's no corroboration that I've seen so far. So I look at that as an open question. Could it happen? Sure. We see it in Chicago. We see it in many major cities. Corruption exists. It could always be there. Is that the case in this right now? I don't see it because there's no evidence of it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to say it can't happen. Do you see what I mean by that?
Yeah.
I hope I'm coming across clearly about that.
Yeah, it's very concerning also to me that, I mean, it's a economic depressed area, correct? I mean, it's currently still considered a depressed area.
State, yeah.
Yeah. So with that, with that situation, people's livelihoods are really important with them. And it's not like something that's been like a few years either. It's been a lot of years in that area that they've been depressed as far as economically. I mean, a lot of big businesses left. IBM, when they'd left, probably cost them, quite a bit. And so there's a certain economic dependency on these businesses and the university. And the last thing you want getting out, that your college town has a bunch of women that are being essayed, that's not good for your college, and that's not good for, trying to get your students and your income there and all that. So that's what some of my concerns is, as far as it.
But the problem is, well, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to make clear, this isn't new. This is a problem that's been existing and exists in every college town to some extent, but has existed to some extent. We've had college students that sadly have been killed because of deranged individuals. We've had students in public who've been hit by people drunk driving. We've had various incidents throughout the years. And that's not unlike any college town in America or around the world. And in fact, for comparatively, probably less. But we've also seen politicians do things to ignore this issue. We've seen members of the Binghamton City Council deny the introduction of what were called blue lights. It was an initiative to have literally blue lights installed so that throughout downtown, so that if students and or women or others were confronted by someone who's trying to be criminal, they could activate this blue light. It would give a signal and also be tied to the police to try and encourage them to come to that area and try and help those individuals. And that was denied because the far left in the region said, well, that's racist profile. I don't understand how, but that's what they said. So while we have some problems, like any city would, some of the solutions are being prevented because of progressive ideology. And some of them are problems that no one has ever come up with an answer. There has always been deranged individuals that commit killings and murder. There have always been individuals who commit sexual assault. None of them are acceptable. Minimizing that is always a priority. Sadly, no one has come up with a perfect answer to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with those examples, but at the same time, I feel like this story in itself is it's more predatory, and it's more of a situation where you're supposed to be able to go into establishment and feel safe, and yet that establishment itself, allegedly is taking advantage. And I think that's like a pretty big difference between, we have crime in our city and these certain incidents occur on the regular basis. This just seems like is more predatory, and if the allegations are true, it involved a lot more victims.
Well, I'm not trying to minimize it. I don't want that. I don't want what I'm saying to be taken as being minimization. I think it's a serious issue, and I think this is a serious case. But I'm also trying to understand that, because some people are trying to make it seem like, well, if we just do this, this will never happen. That's ridiculous. So we have to look at the broad spectrum. I'm looking at the consequences down the road. We can't just stop at that one or two or three guys or people who are involved in this. They're the problem. Getting rid of them, that solves the problem, which is generally the way the media presents it and the way many politicians present it, because it gets them off the hook, and no one's going to pay attention for the next 2, 3, 5 years, whatever. What I'm saying is, we have to look at this as a more comprehensive. We have to look at all of the aspects and say, besides dealing with this immediate problem, how do we help minimize this going forward? Because I don't think it's something we can always guarantee. We cannot stop crime, period. But we can minimize it. And the more things we can do to make the public capable, individuals capable of defending themselves and making criminals aware that the public is able to defend themselves, I think that helps to reduce this in the future. So as an example, saying I would love to see the Binghamton and SUNY Broome start a program of not only self-defense, hand-to-hand self-defense for women, but also encourage women to go and to learn about firearms and firearm safety, and to possibly become, to go through training on using a firearm. Make that public. Whether or not women actually are armed is separate, but make that public, make it very well known, and encourage that this program exists and that it's being used. And that helps to reduce the impetus of those people who want to break the law, who want to be criminal, who want to be predatory. Put them on the defensive. And don't limit it to, well, it's just those 1, 2, 3 guys or whatever group it is. Let's look at this as a broad, here's the solution for today and tomorrow, or at least it's a deterrent today and tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Yep, it makes sense. And I just want to, thank you again for going out there and getting that coverage, because if it wasn't for you going out there, we wouldn't have it. And to me, that's something that's very exciting that's happening in social media right now, where people are going out and, literally just covering what's happening so people can really get a clear idea rather than a filtered, mainstream idea of what's happening. And I find that very exciting. I appreciate you for allowing me to be able to call into your show, and I'll probably be looking for you next Sunday. I just found your stream last night when I was looking for the protest going on. And so I'll be looking for you next Sunday. Maybe we can get an update on this case and see where it's going.
Hopefully. I'm going to try and follow this as best I can. And I do appreciate and thank you for, checking out the show and seeing what's going on. And we'll try and always keep it the highest quality possible to give you information. And we're always open to hear everyone's opinion, whether you agree or disagree, no matter what.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, there you have it from Mike Vass. Thinks there could be some levels of corruption. There's some suppression. He probably knows a lot better than we do, because he's been definitely entrenched a lot longer there. So now let's get into this story. What are we talking about? We went straight to an interview, and most people haven't even heard about it. Let me pull up a little news clip.
Downtown businesses have temporarily closed amid a social media firestorm, alleging an owner sexually assaulted women on the premises. Fox 40's Amy Hogan joins us now with more details. Amy?
Thanks, Ian. The Colonial, Dos Rios, and Stone Fox, all part of the same ownership group, posted to all of their social media accounts that they are closed until further notice and that the individual in question has been placed on leave. Now, it's really important to note that right now, Binghamton police say no one has been arrested. But here's the rundown of what's unfolded over the past few days. It started when social media posts gained traction, alleging sexual assault occurred at one of the establishments and that it was an owner or partner that was involved. This morning, a Facebook group was created encouraging a boycott of the three businesses. That group gained nearly 4,000 members in just 15 hours. The restaurants disabled comments on their social media accounts.
So with it being Fox, you definitely got to interrupt. I probably played that way too long, but the gist of it is that apparently a girl on Facebook, I think she created a group speaking out against this about how she had known friends that had went through this similar situation, and that Facebook group ended up exploding. And then within a few days, there was at least 15 women that came forward and were reporting that they went through similar situations with this business
this afternoon and then posted this statement around 2 p.m. The businesses say, quote, "These allegations are deeply disturbing and do not in any way reflect the values of our employees or corporate culture of our restaurants." They say they are reviewing the matter internally and will be closed in the meantime. Now, Ian, again, Binghamton police detectives tell us they are aware of the allegations, but no one has been charged. Back to you.
Thanks, Amy. And that Facebook post from the businesses has since been deleted, but you can read the original text in its entirety on our website, wicz.com. Also, Animal Adventure Park owner and Dos Rios investor Jordan Patch posted a statement on his Facebook announcing that he is severing all ties with the downtown restaurant.
Breaking news here at 5. 3 popular downtown Binghamton restaurants are closed following social media claims of sexual misconduct at those establishments.
Yeah, just hours ago, Dos Rios, Cantina, the Stone Fox, and the Colonial shared a Facebook post that they will be closed and the individuals in question have been placed on leave. Now, that Facebook post has since been deleted.
12 News has been in touch with Binghamton police, and they say no arrests have been made, and they've not provided any additional information. Police do say they are aware of several social media posts alleging sexual misconduct. The restaurant's Facebook post stated while no one has been charged, they will cooperate with any investigation.
Now, in the statement, the restaurant said that the claims are, quote, deeply disturbing. We have posted everything we know about this story right on our 12 News app. Now, we are going to continue to follow the story and bring you the latest details as we learn them.
So that's what started the story. And then the restaurants were saying it was deeply disturbing. And then it quickly went to, this is cancel culture.
Breaking news tonight in a story we've been following involving the closure of area restaurants surrounding sexual misconduct allegations shared on social media.
Now, Binghamton police have now confirmed with us that they are investigating a specific incident involving the owner of the Colonial that happened on November 28th. Earlier today, the Colonial did post on Facebook that their establishment would be reopening this evening, calling the claims against them, quote, baseless. Binghamton police say that they are aware of additional allegations being made on social media. They went on to say the department is taking this matter seriously and investigating all allegations to the fullest extent.
On TV, crimes are committed, solved, and prosecuted within an hour. In reality, things take time.
And that was Broome County District Attorney Michael Korchak addressing the influx of calls his office has gotten in relation to the allegations against the Colonial. Today on his Facebook page, you can find that full video there. Now stay with us as we will continue to follow this investigation.
Over the past several days, I'm Mike Korchak, Broome County District Attorney. Over the past several days, our office has received numerous emails and phone calls regarding several incidents that occurred recently in Broome County. We take every call from a concerned citizen seriously. However, we are bound by the laws of New York State not to publicly discuss pending cases or investigations. On TV, crimes are committed, solved, and prosecuted within an hour. In reality, things take time. We work daily with local law enforcement to investigate and prosecute crime. By law, we cannot prosecute based solely upon anonymous information posted on social media. Therefore, if you see something or know something, please say something. Contact the Broome County District Attorney's Office at 607-778-2423 or call your local police department to report criminal activity. Working together, we can make Broome County a safer community. Thank you.
So that ended up leading to this.
Mike Vass, Dragon the Seventh here. Happy to be here with you. Well, sort of. There is leaders and we're not trying to
Sorry, I cursed a lot, but you got little kids, you know, it is what it is. But Yes. When you when you come together, we have power. Okay? Yes. And we're here to uplift survivors. We're here to let them know that they're not alone. We're here to let them know that we can fight with them. We're here to let them know that we have their back. We're here to let them know that they are not alone in this. We shut shit down! We shut shit down! We shut shit down! We shut shit down! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! It's really new for people at Binghamton to start realizing. So, organizing is very important to you because this is what we are, right? This is beautiful. Coming downtown and shut shit down, holding these predators accountable. But I can't do this shit all the time. I can't. So we always need new people to make sure that they're organizing and mobilizing. Don't ever be afraid to do that. You don't need nobody's fucking permission. Yeah! We don't need no permit to stand on the sidewalk. That's right. We don't need no permit to take over the street. That's right. Our street! 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 Our street!
So there's a few things going on. We have a lot of people here. Easily, I'd say we're in the 300s at this. Well, definitely over 200, possibly to 300. I can't even begin to get an accurate count on the crowd size, but it has swarmed. We have seen a large number of people come out to support, to make their statement about the allegations that have been made.
Yeah, where's it?
And the size of the crowd is growing. It is getting large enough. It is starting to overtake the street. People are safe at the moment, though. Drivers are being very careful. And that's the BLM, sorry, the BLM chant. Again, for those who are not familiar, the allegations are that a young woman, well, one, maybe several young women were in the Dos Rios and the Colonial businesses, that they were drugged and sexually abused in the basement of these businesses, that the owners may or may not be aware of that. It is believed at least one woman did get a rape kit done, and that an investigation has started. We don't have further confirmed details at this moment, but there is a strong opinion in the community that even the allegation is too much, and that any business with that allegation should be removed. One of the co-owners of the LLC that owns this and several other bars has already removed himself from that LLC and has ceased to do business with them just because of the allegations that were made. So
I'm going to pull up the original post that started all this. So this is, I blacked this out, but I mean, apparently it's probably all right to use the user that put this because they put it all over everywhere and wanted it to be promoted. It's somebody that knew the victims or the alleged victims involved, but this is the original post that started the whole thing. I'm absolutely disgusted by the acts happening in downtown Binghamton over the last few months. I've never been one to go out and drink at bars downtown, but I know several people from high school and college who go regularly. In case you haven't been informed, one of the owners of the most popular bars downtown, the Colonial, Dos Rios, etc., have been drugging and SAing girls in the basement of their establishments. This is absolutely horrifying. 15 girls have come forward, the youngest being 17. This is so scary, and I feel so upset for my friends from school who go regularly and may have been victims of this. If you go downtown, bring a friend. The owner, who has been getting away with this for months, should be sitting in jail for a long time. I'm speechless. And that's what kicked off the whole thing. And then lots of people started coming forward. The Facebook group was created, and it grew really fast. I think it was 5,000 or 6,000 members, which this is a small area. That's a lot of people. I mean, to give you an example, this area doesn't have much of a Twitter presence, or at least it doesn't seem to, because this story right here and this story right here, the 13 shares, 3 shares. I don't have the original. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this original story right here that started all thing. This has been up since December 9th. 15 retweets. That's it. So no Twitter real following in this area. Seems to have a decent Facebook group area, but no Twitter presence at all. So this thing's been pretty suppressed overall on social media, but on Facebook it was 6,000 people or so. Maybe it was 4,000, 4,000 to 6,000, like the first 24 hours, I think. And a lot of people coming forward. Interesting part about the story too is that people feel that bringing in the media would somehow hinder the investigation, and they are actually being allegedly informed by law enforcement to not speak to mainstream media and not to call for national media coverage or anything. They really are advising to stay out of that, which I get the victims, not wanting to come forward and speak to the media, but other people, witnesses, or other people that, know of what's allegedly going on, I don't see it hampering the investigation in any way at all.
To give people an understanding, that's the background that we have at this moment on this. confirmed details aren't known at this moment yet. Oh, and there are police officers there. So it looks like the police officers are beginning to block off traffic for the protesters to allow them to have their space.
Lock them up! 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 Lock them up!
So I'm not going to play all of his footage. If you want to see the whole thing, you can go to No Soundbites Allowed. I got a link in the description that you can follow. I think he recorded for probably a good 2 hours of this, so if you want to see the whole thing. But there is some pivotal moments that I want to put across real quick, some clips of it, which I think are coming up here. If not, I'll forward a little more.
So for those
but the news media recorded this as being 100 people that came out, and it's obviously a lot more than 100.
Off for the protesters right now.
They seem to really be minimalizing the story, and I'm, I have my suspicions of why, but
and the protest is
I don't know for certain
over
why.
The Main Street area. This is the heart of downtown in Binghamton. And so it looks like, I believe there are no more cars coming.
We're gonna march around, okay? So, give me like 2 minutes.
There are 4 businesses that are owned by the same organization that owns Dos Rios and Colonial. There are 2 additional businesses. I believe the protest is going to march around all of those businesses to let, I believe the other 2 are open, and to let them know as well the sentiment of so many people, especially college students who are a large part of the consumers of these restaurants. Okay, they're going to begin marching. They're starting to call people up. Okay. And lots of people have different opinions. There are many members, or a few members of BLM here. They don't like me, so you may expect to see that from time to time. But this isn't about BLM. This is an event for the statement about me too. Hang on, we're going to try and get in the front of the crowd here. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Sorry?
No, no. Sorry.
So we're gonna start moving. Like I said, the marshals are the people that's gonna we're gonna start playing. Go around, you know, and then have to come this way and then we'll have everything else.
So yeah, we're over 300, I think, at this point. All right, starting to move.
Stay behind me. Who got sit down? Who said sit down? Who said sit down? Who
We are definitely over 300. We are definitely over 300 people. Oh, we have more people. And just to see, police who look like have blocked off the traffic from the other direction as well. Looking here. Oh, it's about the people of the Colonial. Do you mind if I have this? Oh, thank you. We've got to be close to 400, 350, 400 people. If I'm guessing right by the size of the crowd, it's a guesstimate, but we are definitely in that range, possibly even more. I'd say 300 to 400. I think that would be accurate.
Once again, this is Michael Vass's footage from No Soundbites from last night. He was live. We called into him in the beginning of the stream. He might still be live, so if you'd like to, if you have questions for him, or you might be able to catch him still and call in and ask him your direct questions with this event and everything that's going on. That's No Soundbites Allowed. Links in the description.
Blocking off the street, but they're not here at the moment. Not sure where the police went to. They had been blocking this off, as I mentioned.
All right, y'all ready? Who shut shit down? 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 Who's free? Who's free? Who's free? Who's free? Who keep us safe? We keep us safe. 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 School streets? Our streets. School streets? Our streets. Who shut shit down? We shut shit down. 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 Who keep us safe? We keep us safe. 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 Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. Lock them up! 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 Lock them up!
And there go police. They've been cutting off several of the streets.
Lock them up! Lock them up! Lock them up! Lock them up! We keep us safe! 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 Who shut shit down? We shut shit down! 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 We keep us safe! We keep us safe! We keep us safe!
Oh, you have the right idea. Good spot.
Lock them up! 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 Who shut shit down? We shut shit down! Who shut shit down? We shut shit down! We shut
I just want you to get a map to see the size, and there's still people who are coming and catching up to the march, but you can see this is a huge amount of people. One of the largest protests to occur in the southern tier Binghamton region. It's an incredibly large crowd, mostly of young people. Mostly in their 20s, mid-20s, it would seem. I've heard that some people have younger children here with them. I haven't noticed that, but I'm told that they may be here in the crowd as well. And a large number of women. Very strong showing of women at this event. And again, for those who are just catching up, this is a protest being organized by the Binghamton BLM movement, or the Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, to be exact, that is protesting the allegations of the sexual abuse of women at local bars and restaurants.
I just checked to see if Michael Vass was still streaming, and he's already ended his stream, but I think he streams on Sundays, every Sunday. So I'm going to be looking to catch him again next week and
they're looking to go into
get
business.
updates on this, see what's, if he has any inside information. He seems to be following it. But so if you have questions for him in this footage next Sunday, you can call into his show and get your questions answered. Said I'm not going to play all of this footage. I'm just waiting. There's an event that's going to occur here shortly that I wanted to show, and then maybe a little bit of the victim testimony that he captured. And if you want to see it in its entirety, just go to his page. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to just jump over to his page right now, you could just skip to that part if you want to get to that part. I'm going to go to the Reddit page also, and the Binghamton subreddit, and show that. And then also at some point I plan on doing a curated video just pointing out the facts that we know so far that I'll put up on my channel. I'd like to try to bring some more awareness to this. I think the cause is a just cause, and the case really needs to be looked into. If the allegations are true in any way, that hopefully justice will be served. I think this movement got hijacked a little bit, according to Michael Vass, as far as other politics, and it should be a bipartisan situation. I mean, women being assaulted is never good, no matter what side of the aisle. And we don't do politics here, but we're definitely going to cover a crime case like this, and we're definitely going to support women and all that. As far as these allegations are just tremendous. I mean, it's very Comet ping pong kind of story. In the basement and all that. Here's the
protesting inside the business.
Here's the business they came into.
I'm outside the business, and the lights have now gone out.
Lock them up! 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 Lock them up!
The lights are off inside the business as well as outside. There is a large crowd inside
So
the
I
business.
have to do a little more
at this
research
moment.
on this.
Yeah.
These businesses, they're owned by like a LLC. I think they have some silent partners. I'm not quite exactly what the structuring is, but
I know it may be
there's
a
like
little dark,
10
but
to 20, I'm not speculating, but 10 to
that's
20
just because we're
owners
outside
of
the
these
location.
businesses. And this business that they're in right now wasn't one of the businesses that came into question, but it's to my understanding that they actually do own this. I'm gonna have to do a little more research to verify that, though. I believe that's why they entered this business, is it's owned by the same group, and they were protesting that they actually opened up this business. It's empty, obviously not getting any business with all these protesters out there. I know Mr. Vass wasn't too very happy about them doing this. And I kind of agree, but at the same time, I mean, there was nothing that escalated, thank goodness. There was no property damage other than maybe that table getting scratched from somebody standing on it. But it did actually end up causing the business, I believe they did shut down, which is probably a smart thing to do. I think that group, any businesses that they're involved in right now, should use discretion, not put their employees in harm's way, and close it down, as they're saying, until this is all sorted out by the investigation.
Or if it's just shifted, but there's several hundred people. It looks like some of the people are leaving the business at this moment. Yeah. Some people are leaving the business, but many of them remain inside. You probably can't see that, it's very dark. There's well over 50 people inside the business. It looks like they're exiting the business now.
Was women of color. So we gotta
shut this shit down.
One fact. The fact is, when women of color are violated, we don't never make the headlines. Yeah. When we get kidnapped, we don't never make the headlines. When we get killed, we don't never get the headlines. Yeah. But I don't give a fuck what the headlines say. I'm
right there's an example of them hijacking this and diminishing it, in my opinion. They should have left the politics out of it. I mean, I'd agree with what she's saying to a point, but that doesn't matter. That's not what they're out there for. So I feel like they shouldn't have done that. Should have kept it focused on a bipartisan issue, because it is a bipartisan issue. You know, the one thing I will say, though, I mean, I understand that they're trying to put their spin on it, but the good thing is that, you know, from their particular politics, they have, you know, learned how to organize.
It looks like most of the people have exited.
You know,
business.
I don't agree with them injecting their politics into it, but at the same time, I do appreciate them for addressing the issue and actually being able to organize it and get, you know, people to come out. So that in itself needs to be commended.
That I am aware of the actual race of the person involved. So it's that's new news to many people, I believe. And again, none of this has been confirmed. But obviously you can see there's a strong sentiment amongst the community. Of course, I'm not sure what the fact that a woman was assaulted, I don't know what her race has anything to make it better or worse, but according to the leaders of plot that are organizing this event, that makes a difference. Well, one of the questions to be asked is, would the local progressive leaders of tomorrow, an offshoot of BLM, would they have made this same protest if, as they allege, one of the victims was not black? It's a good question. But again, I don't see where the color of whomever the victim or alleged victim was. I don't think it matters. It's horrific. If the allegations are true, it's horrific, and it doesn't matter what color anyone is. It should not happen to anyone. My personal opinion. In fact, this crowd came together overwhelmingly without knowledge of anyone, whatever the race of the woman. They didn't care. They just came out because there should be no women assaulted in such a manner. know there's some wind. I can't do much about that. We're live and I don't have a windscreen for the camera.
So I'm not very good
So
at
if you can
math.
hear that
I'm definitely not a
clearly, we were,
mathematician, but it looks
shouting
like more than 100
ACAB,
people to me.
which is also
That's
something
what the news
heard
media
very often
reported.
in
100
youth
people.
or protests.
There's no way. That's way more than 100 people. And if it wasn't for Michael Vass going out there into the cold, mind you, it's like, probably 30 degrees there.
Give a big round of applause to yourself.
If it wasn't for him coming out, we would never know really what the protests looked like.
That shit was sweet. I think it was a gold there. They lucky me put that shit out. So I'm gonna start with the speak out portion of things. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about, the resources that you can access if you are a survivor of sexual assault. You do have rights. First, we have to address the rape culture that we have in this society, because we really have an issue with rape culture. So we have to address that. And in order to address rape culture, we also have to address white supremacy. So we can't even rule that out. Because like I said, plenty of times women of color get kidnapped, killed, sexually assaulted and everything, and we never make the headline. And people are quiet about it, and that ain't right. But here we are. Hopefully we keep these fucking rapists shut down for a while. They definitely don't deserve our hard-earned money. So we shouldn't spend another penny over here. And unfortunately, they had employees here, and I'm sure they're gonna be looking for work. So if you're a business owner, please hire them. If you guys are looking for real tacos made by real Mexicans, you can go to the Hacienda and you can go to a Grupo. Fuck these culture vultures. Nobody shouldn't spend another dime with them. Nobody shouldn't spend another dime down the block at ecstasy either. No more money should be spent in these establishments. The crazy thing is, I've been boycotting them. I don't eat this shit. I don't spend my money here.
That shit nasty anyway.
It is nasty as fuck. I don't even know. They don't have the best burgers at all. Hot dogs taste better than that shit. So how can women and men combat rape culture and victim blaming, right? Because I know there was a page up, Binghamton, supports sexual assault survivors, and there was a lot of fucking victim blaming on that page. Because let me tell y'all something, we don't need a fucking video to believe that somebody's been violated.
Right.
We don't have to be there to believe that somebody's been violated. When somebody tell you they've been violated, you should just believe them. We have to stop asking questions like, well, what were you doing? Nobody deserves to be violated in any circumstances. Avoid using language that objectifies or degrades women. Avoid using that type of language. Avoid joking about, sexual things and about women. That shit ain't funny. And I would like to tell men to check other men about that shit too. Speak out if you hear someone else making an offensive joke or trivializing rape. Like I said, that shit's not funny. Check your friends if they joking about shit like that. If a friend say they have been raped, take your friend seriously and be supportive. Think critically about the media's message about women, men relationships, and violence. And we're not just talking about women and men, because still the world hasn't got updated yet with these documents to include non-binary people. So we're talking about them too. So let's not forget that. We don't just have women and men, we have they and them too. Being respectful of others' physical space, even in casual situations. It's COVID. Nobody shouldn't be that close anyway. At all.
Back the fuck up.
Facts. Let survivors know that it is not their fault, because it is not their fault. It is such a thing when you're talking to someone or you're dating someone and you are with someone that they could violate you too. Just because I gave you a kiss doesn't mean I need to get violated. Just because I sat on your couch doesn't mean I need to get violated. Just because I accepted a date from you doesn't mean I need to get violated. Just because I let you touch me doesn't mean I need to get violated. When somebody says stop, you stop. If they're too drunk, you don't do nothing with them. And it's crazy because we shouldn't be talking about consent. Everybody should be taught what consent is from when they was babies.
That's right.
If you're making a cup of tea and somebody tell you they're not gonna drink it, you're not gonna make them drink it, right?
No.
If they sleeping, you're not gonna pour the tea in their mouth, right?
Fuck no.
Exactly. So it's the same thing for sex. Hold abusers accountable for their actions. Do not let them make excuses like blaming the victim, alcohol, or drugs for their behavior. Always communicate with sexual partners and do not assume consent. If they didn't tell you yes, that means no. If they ain't giving you green light, that means no. Fuck that shit. I know people be like, oh, the no means yes. There's no such fucking thing. If nobody did consent to you, they ain't saying yes. If that's not what you heard, keep your hands to yourself. Define your own manhood or womanhood. Do not let stereotypes shape your actions. Be an active stand-biter. Being a bystander, that's what I meant to say. Being an active bystander is super important. When you see something going down, be an active bystander, meaning not just record, but be able to help if you can. Because that's the way you can help someone. And we also do a lot of bystander interventions to teach people how to be bystanders. Being bystanders could just be, I'm always a bystander at somebody's club and bar. When I see somebody getting harassed too much, I'll be like, yo girl, what's up? Come me to the bathroom real quick.
Yes.
That's being an active bystander. Being able to go in and be like, yo, why you keep talking to her? I'm not afraid to do that. That's being an active bystander. Men, make sure the women around you are safe. If you see your homegirl in the club, check up on her. If you feel like she's drinking too much, put her in the Uber. Take her home. Be that active.
All right, somebody needs to go and donate to Michael Vass's channel so he can get a good windscreen for when he's out here doing this. That wind is something else.
But if you know my name, you know my name.
I think it's going to calm down here in a minute.
So I am a survivor of many things. I am a survivor of child sex trafficking. I was trafficked when I was 14 years old up until I was about 16. So I've been sexually assaulted numerous of times. I was away from my home. That was about 3 years I was missing from home. Police didn't look for me. Nobody looked for me. Luckily I survived and I'm still here and I'm allowed to tell you my testimony. So I made it. I I made it out the trenches for real. Because I could have been dead laying in somebody's alley somewhere like a Jane Doe. But I'm here to talk about it. I ain't make the headlines, but I was kidnapped for 3 years, held by pimps, being trafficked in different states and different cities. But I survived. I'm not here to tell nobody else's story. The only thing I can tell you about is what I know.
Hey, there's hundreds of others though.
That's it. And if you're brave enough to come and tell your story, you're allowed to do that. And hopefully you are. But I myself can only talk about what I survived because I'm not in the business of telling somebody else's story to tell. And we have to understand that. Also, we got to get out of the rescue mentality. We're here to support them. Yeah. Support and rescue are two different things.
That's right. And prevent.
And we must understand that. It's a difference between support and it's a difference between rescue. Because when you think about rescue, you're going to always get disappointed. Because that's not your victory to claim. So you can't rescue nobody. You have to be supportive.
Yes. Yes.
Also, I am here to share. Dang, my paper. Somebody go in that what color that is? Red. That red card, and there's a piece of paper that say victim rights. Because I do want to share the rights that you have. You do have rights. I used to work at the Crime Victims Assistance Center for 4 years. So I am trained in advocating for victims of sexual assault. I used to go on calls to the hospital, answer to calls when someone has been sexually assaulted or when somebody has been molested, and I would sit with them throughout the whole process. I know a lot of times some people aren't sure what to do when that happens to them, but you do have rights. When a lot of the times when something like this happens to you, you're in a state of shock. You can't move, you freeze, you're like lost. You know, because I hate when people say, well, if you was violated, why you didn't go to the police, right? If you was violated, why you didn't go to the hospital? It doesn't work like that.
No, it don't.
Some people can't even get out of bed after that.
Some people don't even know they've been violated.
Right, and some people don't know they even been violated until they dawned on it and figure it out. Or somebody told them. So, your general rights are, you cannot be treated differently based on your certain characteristics, such as race, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, disability, age, source of payment, sex, identity, or gender expression. Nobody shouldn't tell you that you didn't violate it, no matter what color, what race, what status you are. Your immigration status or national origin cannot affect your emergency care or service. So if you're an immigrant, you are still able to access emergency services if you've been left violated. You can ask for an interpreter if it's hard for you to understand English. Minors under the age of 17 have certain rights to make their own decisions without a parent or legal guardian. A lot of minors do not know that. If there's a minor that's been sexually assaulted, something happened to them, they can access emergency services without their parents' consent. Hospital rights. You can have an advocate from the local crisis center with you during the exam. So if you find yourself in a situation that you got violated, the best advice for you that I can give is it's hard and you have to find the strength and the courage to do it. But whatever clothes you have on, take them off, put them in a paper bag, seal it, because that's evidence. Don't take a shower, go straight to the emergency room and get a sexual assault rape kit done. And that doesn't mean because you went to the hospital, it doesn't mean that you have to talk to the police either. You don't have to do that. After they take the kit, after they do the rape kit, they can keep it in storage for at least 20 years. So if you so 5 years later, you'd be like, fuck that, I want justice now. You could go back to the hospital, request your kit, so you can take it to court to do what you need to do, okay? So understand that. If something like this happened to you, do not be afraid to go to the emergency room. If you want somebody to go with you, call somebody you trust, or you can call the Crime Victims Assistance Center and they'll have an advocate go with you. Don't take a shower, just go there, get a rape kit done,
pregnancy and sexual transmitted infections. So when you go to the hospital, they will give you a bunch of pills. Sometimes they can make you sick, but these pills help to protect you. Because just in case you get violated and no one was using protection, they'll give you a pill that you could take so you won't contract HIV or other STDs. So they will give you that for free. You don't have to charge your insurance for nothing. The Crime Victims Assistance Center can cover that for you. And then they'll also give you a follow-up appointment where they'll give you another 7 days worth of the medicine, and you have to take all of them, okay? You will be provided information on appropriate follow-up medical care. So if you go to the doctor, they tell you to follow up, please follow up. It's important that you keep yourself safe. It's important that you take care of your body. Do not be afraid to go to the access emergency services if you've been violated. Your law enforcement rights. I don't really fuck with the police. But, you know, in order to get a claim, you have to be involved. You can choose to report to the police or not. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Don't let nobody pressure you to doing it either if you don't want to. That is your choice. Understood? It's your choice to report it or not. You can choose to have an advocate from the local rape crisis program to stay with you during your interview with the police or a prosecutor. They don't have to talk to you by yourself. You can have somebody with you. You can contact the police or prosecutor for information on the criminal investigation or legal proceedings. The police or prosecutor will inform you of the legal action related to your case. If you choose to report to the police, your evidence will be tested within 100 days. You may contact the police for information of the DNA match if you want to know about it. If you choose not to report to the police, your evidence will be stored for 20 years or until you decide to release it. You will be notified if your evidence is moved and before the storage period ends. So if you went to the emergency room, you had a rape kit there for about, 25 years. If you didn't change your number, they'll call you and let you know, like, do you want to do something with it? Because it's time for us to get rid of it. So they can't get rid of it unless you give them permission to. I do have copies of these if you want. If you want them, the Crime Victims Assistance Center is our rape crisis center here in Binghamton. It's located at 377 Robinson Street. They do have counselors, crisis counselors there. If you want to talk to somebody, access mental health, they have all those services there. And also, we got to talk about that. Not only women get violated, men get violated too. It's just not reported as much. You know, when I worked at the Crime Victim Center, Assistance Center, men really get violated, especially when they're younger. You know, it's like, they're like, yeah, I was messing with an older woman, but you was violated. You wasn't just messing with an older woman, she violated you. That's violation. Yeah. It is. That wasn't cute. It wasn't cute at all. Right? No, it wasn't. Like, that's really not funny at all. Like, men have been violated just as women have been violated. And we gotta talk about our trans women too. We can't forget about them. They get violated the most, and we forget about it and we don't talk about it. They don't make headlines at all. But every year I go to a memorial that talk about how many trans women have died, and we say their name because nobody else is saying their name. If anybody want to come to the mic and speak about something, y'all can. I don't want to be the only one talking. Like I said, I need more organizers to be involved, because if something happens to me, who else is going to mobilize y'all? Who else is going to call for us to shut shit down? Because the only reason they closed is because of community pressure. That's right. They didn't close just because. They didn't close because out of respect. Because they went back and forth talking about they were open. They didn't give a fuck. They really didn't give a fuck. And luckily their employees were brave enough to quit on their ass too. They ain't had to fight So shout out to the employees that cared and walked the fuck out on them. Because guess what? Without us, they can't themselves. They can't wait them tables. They don't care about us. Don't spend your money here again. No. If I walk by here and there's somebody eating outside, I'm flipping the table. If they open tomorrow, I'm coming in here. Nobody should spend a dime in these establishments. No. At all. Anybody want to talk? No? Yeah? No? Yes! Somebody come and talk. If you want to come and speak, come and speak. Yeah!
Talk your shit, go ahead.
I used to work at Dos Rios.
400 or more.
And
Bob
I
Joseph
kinda kept
was
to
here for a
myself,
moment.
And I felt like I observed a lot. And the first red flag was, and I know cocaine seems pretty casual amongst a lot of people. I got on cocaine and I was like, okay, so like the energy I was feeling was kind of chaotic, and I was like, all right. And then I saw Jordan get, and I was training to be a hostess. And you just get just enough, just too close to me, and just touch his arm a little bit. And one, that definitely doesn't sit right. Second off, I saw him get really flirty with the hostesses and stuff. And I'm just like, dude, like, and he walks in with his wife. Fuck Jordan! Fuck Jordan! I don't know what baggage there is, but the vibes I'm picking up from this man is not it. And there was one time another manager came in and he had a whole bunch of marks all over him. And my first feeling was, I was like, this is fucked up. Like something didn't sit right. Like this wasn't like, it's not like this guy got fucked or whatever. And I asked, I go, hey, what happened? And then he was like, oh, another manager was like, oh, him and this girl were just playing around. I'm like, why the fuck do you have bruises all over you? My first thought was, who was fighting to get you off of them? It didn't seem flirty, I don't know. And I also know I've had a lot of people directly message me through the internet. I've heard terrible things about Dillingers.
I feel like Dillinger's is patron stuff. Definitely not the owner.
I've heard shit about Camp High.
Uh-oh. That's all. Go ahead. Keep going. You're shocking us right now. Go ahead.
There's someone who reached out and they were rejected, and they said, which, to preface, I guess, they have all these white girls wearing kimonos, but they said to this girl they won't hire black women or people. So I just, whatever.
That ain't right.
Fuck Camp High.
Fuck Camp High.
Fuck Dillinger. Fuck Stone Fox.
Fuck Stone Fox.
Fuck Colonial.
Fuck
Colonial.
Fuck FC. Fuck 40 Renton too. Fuck out of here.
Yo, fuck that. If you see a red flag, talk about it. Call the person out. There's people I know here that were filled with compassion who quit on the first day, and it adds up to their character, and that's fantastic. And I also, when I was working here, I watched one of the managers hand a Binghamton cop a whole wad of cash in rubber bands. Fuck BTT! Fuck BTT! Fuck BTT!
Right, somebody's angry.
No wonder why all these underage kids get away with it. Because they let them in because they can.
No one is invincible. That's how they get their prey.
Yeah, and it's weird too because I also would hear about how they get out of all their parking tickets. They don't get in trouble. There'd be such shit going on after hours, but the cops are sitting out here shooting the shit a little too casually with the police. And again, this piece of information I'm going to say, I do not know if it is true.
stop it there. I don't want to hear about any more rumors or whatever, but you get the gist of it. I think all the important stuff was covered. And like I said, if you want to hear it in its entirety, you can go to Michael Vass's. I'm going to take a quick look at the Reddit page. It looks like there's some updates maybe on there. So this is where I started following. It's a Binghamton subreddit. Initially, it was 15 victims have come forward with allegations of being drugged and essayed by popular downtown bar owners. So that's where it started. And then this is an interesting point too. Weird blogs and news sources started picking up the story because of social media buzz. And I'm assuming questionable information. And if you just click on one of these links, go look. This is one of the owners in question. If you go through this story and read this story, it almost sounds like it was literally written by him. It's constantly just praising the business and him, and it's just a complete fluff piece. I don't know, if he did write it, but whoever wrote this was definitely trying to put something positive out there for these owners and for these businesses. So I was wrong in the numbers. Well, I was close, but 4,800 in less than 24 hours, which, like I said, this is a small community and it's not a super, as far as I know, not a super strong social media community either. They don't use Twitter. I mean, there's not like they retweet or anything like that. So to get those kinds of numbers that fast, it kind of gives me a hint that there's some foundation to these allegations. And if I didn't think there, was a solid foundation for this, I wouldn't be covering it. But I do think that there's some validity to these claims. And of course, we're going to follow it. And if anything changes or is reported by the investigation, we will definitely update. So local news put out a couple stories. Then there was this Jordan Patch. This is pretty interesting too. And he right off the bat came out swinging as far as trying to distance himself from this owner group, which that kind of says a lot to it. I don't know anything about Jordan Patch. Haven't done a ton of research on him yet, but this is what he had to say right off the get-go. Being born and raised in Broome County, I've always been excited about projects that make the Binghamton area better. I was excited about the opportunity to invest in Dos Rios Cantina, believing the restaurant would be an asset to our great community and bring culture and vibrance to downtown Binghamton. I've never worked on site or been part of the day-to-day operations, essentially operating as a silent partner. However, today I can no longer be silent. I'm a husband to a wonderful woman, a father of 2 beautiful little girls, and the proud owner of a family destination in our community. In the last 24 hours, it has become clear that my values do not align with the values of some of the owners of Dos Rios Cantina and its sister restaurants. Therefore, I'm walking away from my investment and will be formally cutting ties with these restaurants, effective immediately. I cannot and will not support any organization that causes harm to others. Binghamton deserves much better than this, and I hope for nothing but justice and healing for those who have been affected. So that's right off the get-go. I thought it had a picture of him. It doesn't. But there's been a lot of allegations his way too, as far as him trying to distance himself, not as far as this case goes, but other reasons that he would want to try to, separate himself and not have a magnifying glass on himself. So this is kind of, this whole case is kind of blowing up this whole owner group and all their dirt. Former employees come forward with a story. Trigger warning for the sensitive to the stories. I think we're past that on this stream. Now, this is somebody that's been definitely speaking on this issue, and prevalent as far as I think the Facebook group goes. And I don't know if I want to read all this to you or not, but it's a former employee who essentially wasn't full on SA, but definitely was in a situation with one of the owners that was not consensual. Which, goes to show right there, there's probably a lot more validity to this than at least the media is, portraying. And it's definitely not something I think that's isolated, judging by these updates, which we'll get to. There's the Colonial staff plan to open up back up tomorrow. That was an interesting thing too, is like initially they were like, oh, we're going to close down. They were sensitive to the issue. Then they went to saying, oh no, this is frivolous. And, we're not going to be cancel culture. Well, these allegations have nothing to do with cancel culture. Oh, that was another thing too I should probably bring up, is they actually had vandalism, and the vandalism is not quite what you think. I was picturing spray paint everywhere, and it was literally just some Post-it signs that people printed off some signs and put them on the windows, and then I guess at some point somebody took a turkey or something, and put it out in front of the door. And then I think last night Michael Vass reported that there was like a Christmas tree that was put at the door. Not quite sure. I'm gonna have to follow up with that. But this is Emily Mott again, the one from the Instagram post. This is the update that they added recently, but they're saying that it's far greater than 15. Additionally, there are stories about every single member of the owner group. It's kind of hard to believe, but I don't know. We'll have to follow up with it and see. In the past 2 days, it's been made incredibly clear that the number is far more than 15. All right. Well, it looks like they finally opened up the subreddit. This guy that's been trying to moderate this thing has been locking it down and then going back and forth between unlocking it and locking it. Looks like it's unlocked now. Comment. So that is what's going on in Binghamton, New York, upstate New York. Heavily depressed area. Been depressed for a lot of years, and I hope that doesn't play a role in justice for these victims. So we had Michael Vass on from No Soundbites Allowed. Actually, I just called into his show. He didn't really realize he was on. Hopefully that's all right. But got a little bit of his perspective in the beginning of the stream. I'm hoping to do some more of these lives. I'm going to put up some curated videos. We got a little bit slowed down on the channel that we just started due to technology and our computer needing to be completely wiped and completely reinstall Windows. I lost a bunch of assets I had for streaming. So there was that little bit of a setback. That's why it's been pretty slow on the channel. We got a lot of true crime stuff going on right now. There's updates with Delphi that a lot of the true crimers have been covering. There's the Summer Wells. We had the protesters from from the laundry case, actually. Go out there, and a few other true crimers. Molly Go Lightly was out there, and Olivia from TikTok. And they did some interviews that should be interesting, which I got to get caught up with. As far as that case goes, we haven't covered it much because we're kind of slighted on it. We feel it's a family affair, and that's really probably what needs to be exposed and investigated. And we will cover if there's some big updates, or if there's an angle on it that other true crimers aren't covering that we want to express, then we'll put it on the channel for sure. Or if we have any kind of investigation, at least anything new for the case that we didn't realize or it's not widely out there. Generally speaking, I only am going to be making videos for stuff that's not already covered. We're not going to go revisit what the other true crimers are doing over and over again. We're going to come at it a different angle and try to put up content that's not expressed anywhere else. Like we started with the Brian Laundrie, and nobody was talking about these theories that could be harmful. And that was enough with what I was seeing going on with social media too. So I've always been kind of against social media. I didn't find it very fruitful, but I'm seeing all these missing persons cases getting solved, and old cases, cold cases getting solved. And a lot of it has to do with social media and people working together, which is exciting. And then I'm seeing reporting now too on the ground. People are covering what the media is not covering, and they're giving us a look into it that's unfiltered, and I appreciate that. And, that's exciting to me, and that's something we'd like to do on this channel too at some point, is be boots on the ground and actually do live reporting, hopefully at some point if we can grow the channel enough. But so be looking for a curated video covering this. I'll probably put up like a quick maybe 2-minute, 3-minute video covering this case, and I'll be doing case updates, and hopefully soon I'll be putting up covering some more cases. I'm looking to try to do maybe like a tinfoil Tuesdays I was thinking about doing, where it's a live stream and I will just cover different cases and maybe go a little bit deeper in the speculation of them, as far as like exploring the idea that, well, what if this is possible, and kind of freeing thought, and you're trying to back it up with some logic, of course, and with some evidence, and just, explore different theories. I don't feel like, throwing out theories is really a problem, long as people realize that those theories can be wrong, and advise that any kind of tinfoil ideas that we're kind of making a joke out of it, having fun with it, but also, it's something that could be possible, and it's not going to be something completely impossible. So tinfoil Tuesdays might become a thing for live streaming if I can keep my computer running, and we'll be following up on these cases. I'm really excited with what Nerdy Addicts group's been doing with their Twitter group, and they've been working with missing persons, so we'll be looking to follow up with some of those cases. Also might be having like a weekly update of new cases of missing people, and also the ones that are found, so we can be a little bit encouraging too, and cover some of the success stories and promote the success stories, because that's exciting, and getting people excited about working together to find some of these cases and bring these cold cases to closure for the families, and then some of the real success stories where they find the person alive, which has been great. I started to follow the Latasia Norris case, and then I started having the computer problem, so I never really put something out there, but I was following that, and she was luckily found safely. There's a little bit of, I don't know how to put it, controversy around it, possibly, that she wasn't as lost as made out to be, or maybe she wasn't in such a dangerous situation that was made out to be. But I would rather err on the side of caution as far as that goes, and even if that's the case, at least she was found safe. So with that concludes this stream. We will be back probably Tuesday, and I'll see if I can put out any more content on the channel. Thank you for tuning in.